watched the finale of Severance yet? Did you see that closing sequence? Did you hear this song? It's called The Windmills of Your Mind. As soon as I heard it, I knew it was genius. Ben Stiller. Like, I didn't put it past Ben Stiller to be genius with a song like this. He's been genius with songs like this the whole time. But do you remember, like, in Meet the Parents, when he did that whole day by day thing, and he's like, he made it a prayer where he's like, see thee more clearly.
Dear Lord, 3 things we pray.
Like, this is the cheesy kind of song that Ben Stiller knew from growing up. He knew The Windmills of Your Mind. He probably knew the movie that it came from, which was Thomas Crown Affair, and he put it right at the end of this psychological thriller that we all know and love called Severance. Mark, there's going to be some spoilers here. I'm going to talk about Mark and the battle that he has with himself at the end, where he talks to his innie with a camera, and then he talks to his outie with the camera, and he listens to himself, and it's this crazy windmill of his mind, which is what the entire finale is about. So it was genius to employ this song written in 1968 for the Thomas Crown Affair by Michel Legrand and Alan Bergman and Marilyn Bergman. Now, the 3 of these composers wrote lots of songs together. They wrote, What Are You Doing the Rest of Your Life? They wrote The Summer Knows. They wrote, How Do You Keep the Music Playing? It's a husband and wife writing lyrics together for decades, and their lyrics never miss. Apparently, the director of the Thomas Crown Affair was going to use Strawberry Fields Forever in this sequence in the song that was like a guy flying his glider and also contemplating committing a robbery. And when the song Strawberry Fields wasn't exactly working, Norman Jewison, who was the director, commissioned Michel Legrand to write something original for this sequence. And when he brought it to Alan and Marilyn Bergman, apparently he brought them like 7 melodies that he'd been kicking around. And the 2 of them listened to the 7 melodies, said, we're going to sleep on it. And when the 3 of them reconvened the next day, each of them had decided on this Windmills of Your Mind melody. They unanimously agreed this was the melody. And then they just kind of went to work with it. And it's not the kind of melody that you would learn to write in a songwriting class. This melody is built off of a very simple motif. It's that. And it does it again, but slightly different. And then it does it again. Then it does it again. And it does it again, and it does it again, and it does it again. And it never doesn't do it again. Like, when I was taking songwriting classes in college, they would use like Autumn Leaves, which is actually a lot like this song, to teach you about motifs. And they would say, there's your motif for Autumn Leaves. Here it is again. Here it is again. And here it is again. But it changes the last time. Then something completely different happens for the rest of the song. And you go on, you know, you don't keep the motif through the whole song, because we would never do that. That's what they say. That's what they said to me. You would never keep the motif for the same song, because that's boring. And we need to move forward. We need to think of something new. And they did not do this. Michel Legrand did not do this with The Windmills of Your Mind. And I don't know why he originally wrote it, because it sounds like he already had the melody written before he was approached for the film. So I kind of feel like he wrote it as a challenge. Like, can I break that songwriting rule and never abandon the motif and see how far I can go with it? And that's exactly what he did. Let's take a look at it. I'm not gonna show you my hands in this video. I'm kind of making it in a hurry. I'm leaving town, but I really wanted to make it. We start in E minor and we start on the 5th. Da 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 da. So right away we're in like this E natural minor. Da ba da 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 ba ba da. And this is a note that pulls. It wants to go right back to where it came from. Da 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 da. And we settle on the 5 chord, which is B7. We're gonna go back to the root. We're gonna go root, root, 2, 2, root, root, 5, 5, root, root. Always back to this root. We're gonna hop up to the 7 right here. 7, 7, 6, 5. And now we go back to the E minor chord and we land on the 3. Ooh. We're gonna come back to the root. Da 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 da. 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 5, 5. We're gonna change to E7. We're gonna hop up to that 7th again. This. Every time we hop up to the 7th, it's emotional. Now we're on the 3rd of the new minor chord, which is A minor. But we're gonna do something we haven't done yet, which is to come down to the 4th of A minor. And I'm gonna venture to bet that with any of these, you, if you had never heard this song before, could sing me the next part. Da 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 da. Right? You would know. It's a question and answer song. Ba ba da ba da ba ba ba. Ba ba da ba da ba da. Again. Ba ba da ba da ba da ba. Ba ba da ba da ba da. Emotional every time we reach up for the 7th. And he just doesn't stop. But the harmony gets more interesting. So let me come back to that first time where he used the 4th. He's gonna use the 4th again here. Oh. And that's kind of a, like, it's an unlikely place to go. But it actually, what it does is it predicts the root that we're moving toward. This 4th of G major is going to be the root of C major. There it is as the root. There's the 7th. For the first time, we had a half diminished chord, but it's the 3rd of it, which has been our pattern. We're gonna come to the 4th again. When we do that, it's like harmonic minor all of a sudden. Here's the 7th. And you would think that we're gonna come back to E minor here, but we don't. This is a little harmonic trick. We come to A sharp, diminished. This is like questioning. It's a questioning kind of a chord. We're still up to the 7th of it though. Back to the root. And the whole thing starts again. And the exact same thing happens. But the next time, after all of it happens again, when we get to that diminished 7th chord. It seems like we're gonna start again. But check that out. He goes to an A minor chord and we hit the root of it, but we're still gonna come down to the 4th. We're still gonna come up to the 7th. But this is so much more hopeful because of the way he started. Now we're not gonna come down to the 4th like we've been doing, we're gonna go right to the root. G7, up to the 7th, to C major, and we're on the 3rd. Sometimes the pattern is holding, sometimes he's reaching for something else. Right here. We haven't done this yet. This is a sharp 4. This is totally different. We end up in F sharp 7. But we're still up to the 7th. B minor. At this point, I just feel like it's a little unpredictable. Now we're back to the 4. This is the first time that we abandon the motif. All the way in like bar 30 or something. So it's just a masterclass in how to never abandon your motif. which is something I like to talk about all the time. I've got a whole class on the Nebula platform about how to create your own meaningful motifs and how to have the courage to see them through. But Alan and Marilyn Bergman found this melody and decided that they were going to use it as a mind trap. That's what they said about it. They felt like the lyric had to be a trap of the mind. And what they thought was, when you're going to bed at night and you can't turn your mind off, there needs to be a word for that, or a phrase for that. And the phrase that they came up with, after they had written most of the lyric to the song, was the windmills of your mind. Oh man, that do, 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 right? Like the way that those paddles spin and they make a little sound. I feel like that could be a white noise sound, just a windmill. It probably is. But for them to come up with that phrase, and then for like, I don't know how many years later, it's like 60 years later almost, Ben Stiller decides to put it in his own psychological thriller, Severance. And it's exactly what's going on in Mark's mind.
Round like a circle in a spiral.
What an impossible choice. He's got two selves, and both selves are in love with amazing women. And you see him struggling, and you see her at the door begging him to come with her, because why wouldn't he, from her point of view? And you see her behind him. You see Helly knowing what a difficult choice he has to make, not begging him. He has this choice to make, coo, 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 and everything's just spinning back and forth in his mind. Innie mark, outie mark, innie mark, outie mark. Both these women, all the people that he's known on both sides of his life, and it's unanswerable. It's a mind trap. So it was absolutely perfect.
Like a door that keeps revolving in a half-forgotten dream.
Let's just talk about the lyric for a second. And I was so glad that they chose to use the Mel Torme version of this. There are several versions of it. I also really like the Dusty Springfield, but the Mel Torme and the production of it with the kind of really 60s sounding parts with woodwinds and whatnot was perfect for this craziness of this last scene, I think. Round, like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, on an ever-spinning reel. Like a snowball down a mountain, or a carnival balloon, like a carousel that's turning, running rings around the moon. They also said that they just wanted to be stream of consciousness with this. Like maybe it didn't have to completely make sense, but it just had to go and go and go and go and go. Exactly like the melody, exactly like that motif. Like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face. And the world is like an apple, whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind. And maybe my favorite part, like a tunnel that you follow to a tunnel of its own, down a hollow to a cavern where the sun has never shone, like a door that keeps revolving in a half-forgotten dream, or the ripples of a pebble someone tosses in a stream. You should go read the rest of it. I'm not just going to recite the whole thing to you, but I wanted you to get a feel for just how amazing Alan and Marilyn Bergman are at lyrics. Any song that you take of theirs, they're going to bring you to a place, and they're going to make you see it vividly, and they're going to marry that lyric with the melody of whomever they're working with. And in most cases, it's Michel Legrand. But my gosh, what a song. And I had forgotten about it until just hits me right in the face at the end of Severance. Kudos to the whole team for whoever decided. I assume it's Ben Stiller, just kind of because of how old he is and that day by day thing, like I said before, somehow that just rang true to me when I thought of it. But check out the different recordings of this song, and don't let it drive you crazy. It probably has the potential to do that. It's the perfect song for the Severance finale, and I don't think anything else could have been just so like chef's kiss and made it all feel so satisfying and yet so terrible. I'll see you next time on Amy Nolte Music. Thanks for watching.